There are only 85 homes in Chartwell, and in the last year, just 3 of them sold. So if Chartwell is on your shortlist, there's something that you need to know before almost anything else. You may have to wait to buy here. This is not a community where you can casually just watch listings for 6 months, compare 4 or 5 homes, and then pick your favorite. Chartwell is a small, low turnover, 55 plus community in Glenmore. And there's a reason people wait for homes here. The strata fee is relatively low. Every home has a double garage, and some of these ranchers are much larger than you'd probably expect. But there are also a few things that buyers can easily overlook, including one maintenance question that I would absolutely want answered before I buy one of these duplex units. So let me show you what makes Chartwell worth waiting for, what you actually get for the money, and what you need to investigate before writing an offer. I'm Mark with KelownaCondos.ca and RE/MAX. I specialize in condos, townhomes, and bare land stratas, including communities just like this one. And one of the biggest reasons that Chartwell stands out is actually because of something that it doesn't have: a long list of expensive amenities. As of August 2026, the strata fee at Chartwell is $235 a month. And here's what's interesting. Whether you own one of the 1,400 square foot ranchers or one of the 2,500 square foot homes with a full basement, you pay the same $235. That's because Chartwell is a bare land strata. The strata is the land itself. So your monthly fee, it isn't calculated based on the size of your home or even the size of your lot. Every owner pays the same amount. And compared with many other 55 plus communities in Kelowna, that fee is relatively low. But there is a trade-off. Chartwell is what I'd call a low amenity strata. There's no giant recreation complex. There's no swimming pools or hot tubs. There's no water features running throughout. And if you're downsizing and thinking that I don't want to pay hundreds of dollars every month for a pool that I'm never going to get into, that may be a positive, but you're not getting nothing. There's a clubhouse near the western edge of the community with a kitchen, meeting space, gym, pool table, and shuffleboard. There's also RV parking, which can be a major plus if you're leaving a house, but you're not ready to give up the trailer or the camper. The strata here also handles a good portion of the landscaping and snow removal on the roads. But this is where buyers need to understand exactly what bare land strata means. Because while the monthly fee may be lower, the home is your responsibility. Your roof, your windows, your doors, and the rest of the home itself. So financially, you need to think about the ownership here a little bit more like owning a detached home than owning a traditional townhome. And that becomes particularly important when we get into one question about the duplexes that I'm going to come back to in a minute. The biggest issue with Chartwell isn't the fee. It isn't the location. It's finding one for sale. Over the last 24 months, there have been only 8 sales. And in the last year, there have been just 3. So if you decide that Chartwell is where you want to live, you probably won't have the luxury of waiting until 4 or 5 homes are listed and then choosing the best one. Which means that your homework, it needs to happen before the listing comes to market. Here's what I recommend. Ask your realtor to send you every Chartwell sale from the last 3 or 4 years. Go through the photos, look at the layouts, compare renovated homes with original ones, and then look at the selling prices. Learn which locations in the complex you prefer, because when the right home eventually hits the market, you don't want that to be when you start your research. You want to already know what you're looking at. One feature that attracts every 55 buyer that I talk to is the double garage. People are ready to leave the big yard. They may be ready to leave the stairs, but they're not ready to give up the garage. They still want somewhere for the tools, the bikes, the golf clubs, and the storage, or even just somewhere to tinker. And every home in Chartwell comes with a double attached garage. That is a major selling point for these bare land strata communities. But there's another group of homes here that's almost impossible to find. Approximately 12 of the 85 homes have full basements, putting them in the 2,200 to 2,800 square foot range. That's a lot of space for a rancher style home in a 55 plus community. And these full basement homes, they almost never get listed. The last basement unit sold in 2019, and going all the way back to 2010, only 7 of them have sold. So if a basement is specifically what you're looking for, you need to understand just how rare that opportunity is. On the positive side, given how long it's been since the last one sold, statistically, one should be coming up pretty soon. So if it does, you're going to want to be ready. Now let's get into the part that can save buyers headaches later. First, Poly B plumbing. I know for certain that some of the homes in Chartwell here were built with Poly B, but Chartwell was constructed right around the period when Poly B was getting phased out. So some of the last homes to be built, they might not have it. Do not assume it does or doesn't. Before writing an offer, review the property disclosure statement and the strata documents to find out whether the plumbing here has been replaced already. And then after you have an accepted offer, have the home professionally inspected. Remember, because you're responsible for the home, you want to understand the condition of the plumbing, the HVAC, the roof, the windows, and everything else that you're eventually going to have to pay for. It's much easier to factor these issues into your buying decision before you own the home. And here's the question that I mentioned earlier. So what happens when two owners share one roof, but each owner is responsible for their own home? 80 of the 85 homes in Chartwell are duplexes. So imagine there's a leak in one unit and the roof needs replacing. One owner's ready to do it, but the neighbor isn't. What happens? Bare land strata duplexes will typically have agreements governing shared components and the responsibilities. And this is something that I would want to read very carefully. At the moment, there are no active Chartwell listings, so I don't have the strata documents in front of me to tell you exactly how Chartwell handles these situations. But when a unit does come up, that's one of the first documents that I want to review. There's also one restriction that dog owners need to know about. You're allowed up to 2 pets, but they must be lap-sized pets under 25 pounds. It actually says lap-sized pets right in the bylaws. So if you have a large dog, Chartwell's not going to work. Chartwell, it makes sense if you're downsizing, but you still want a double garage, a yard, and in some cases, a basement. It's especially appealing if you want to stay in Glenmore. You're close to everyday shopping, grocery stores, downtown, the airport, and the Kelowna Golf and Country Club. So you can downsize the amount of house you're looking after without necessarily feeling like you moved into a condo building with underground parking. Chartwell becomes more difficult if you're on a strict timeline. If you need possession by a specific date, you simply can't control when a home here is going to come available. With only a handful of sales in a typical year, you could be waiting. And if a fully detached home is a non-negotiable, your options get even thinner. Only 5 of the 85 homes here are detached. So the chances of one becoming available during your particular search window are relatively small. If you need something sooner and you want to stay in Glenmore, Sandpoint next door had 15 sales in the last year, so it's worth considering. It has all the amenities, including the ponds and the pools, so your strata fees today are going to be an extra $100 a month. If you're open to another part of Kelowna, Balmoral is another 55 plus community worth checking out. It was built around the same time as Chartwell. I'll leave my full Balmoral review at the end of this video. So here's a small detail that matters more than you might think. Some Chartwell listings, they show up on the MLS under Glenmore. Others, they show up under North Glenmore. So if you're creating an automated search, make sure that you're covering both areas. Otherwise, with inventory this limited, you could accidentally miss one of the few listings that come up in a year. Location-wise, the shopping around Kane Road and the Kelowna Golf and Country Club are only a few kilometers away. Kelowna General Hospital is roughly a 6-minute drive, and the airport is about 13 minutes. Downtown is approximately 4.5 kilometers away. You could bike downtown fairly easily, but just remember one important part about the trip home. Chartwell sits at the top of a hill, so you're going to have to earn that last part of the bike ride. There's also some location differences inside Chartwell that I would pay attention to. 3 of the homes back onto Glenmore Road, which it can get pretty busy, and 7 of the homes back onto Valley Road, which isn't as busy as Glenmore, but at certain times it can still be pretty busy. The southern units in this complex, they back onto the trellis townhomes, which are 3 levels. So they're going to sit above these homes. Some of the units have a hedge between them, but the size varies. Now, this is just something that you want to be aware of. If these things matter to you, find out exactly where this unit sits before you make a trip out to see it. The same floor plan can feel very different depending on its location within the community. So let's put everything together. Chartwell was built between 1996 and 1998, but the timeless style makes it hard to tell. There are 85 homes in total, 80 of them are duplex ranchers and 5 of them are detached ranchers. Approximately 12 homes here have full basements, bringing those homes into the 22 to 2,800 square foot range. Every home here has a double attached garage, and it's a 55 plus community. As of August 2026, the strata fee is $235 a month, regardless of the size of your home. Based on the 3 sales over the last year, the price ranges here have been between $660,000 and $760,000. And really, Chartwell comes down to one trade-off. You get relatively low monthly strata fees, a double garage, rancher-style living, and a great Glenmore location. But you sacrifice availability. There simply aren't many opportunities to buy here. So if Chartwell is one of your top choices, the smartest thing you can do is educate yourself before a home becomes available. Again, know the recent sales, know the locations you like, know the maintenance questions to ask, and have your search set up properly. So when one of those 3 or 4 opportunities appears, you already know whether it's worth pursuing. If buying a 55 plus home is part of your plan, I've put together a condo buyer's checklist covering many of the questions that you should be asking before buying. You can grab it using the QR code on the screen or the link that you'll find in the description. And if you're already thinking Chartwell sounds interesting, but you're wondering how it compares with other 55 plus options, watch my full review of Balmoral next. It may help you figure out which type of community will suit you best. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, and I hope to see you in the next video.